Yo, what is up? My name is Lexli, and in today's video, I'm going to be showing you the #1 way to improve in Brawlhalla. If this video ends up helping you, make sure to subscribe to my channel, as I'm going to be doing a ton of guides to help you improve, and if you want any personal coaching from me, check out the link down below. Okay, so the #1 way to actually improve at Brawlhalla is watching your replays, and I know a lot of people, you either don't watch your replay, or you watch your replay, but you don't know what you're looking for, and so today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to watch your replay, the stuff you're looking out for, and how to actually take the information you learn and apply it into your next game so that then you can rank up easier. Thank you to Ginger Ninja for sending me the ranked game, and let's get started. Okay, so when watching replays, the main thing we're looking for is situations where we get hit, and we want to ask ourselves, why are we getting hit, and what can we do instead to avoid getting hit, right? So right here we have stage control, we go for this insig, and we get hit for it. Okay, so first thing, why do we get hit? Well, it's because our opponent's in the air, and when we go for this insig, it's just not guaranteed to hit, right? Our opponent's way too high, so we go for this insig, our opponent easily avoids it, and then we get punished for it. So what can we do instead? Well, instead of going for this attack, which isn't guaranteed, we can instead use the fact that we have stage control, use the fact we have a weapon, use the fact our opponent doesn't have a weapon, to essentially just wait to see what our opponent does, and then punish them for what they do. So if our opponent decides, let's say they want to do dare here, right? All we have to do is dash back sidelight near them if they do dare, so that's a free punish. If our opponent decides to land, well, if they get near the ground, then possibly we can either go for D-light or an in-light, maybe a dash in-light, right? So we have options to punish them for their landing. So there's nothing wrong here with just kind of sitting down on stage, waiting for our opponent to land, and then hitting them for landing, like catching their landing, right? So all we have to do is just kind of follow our opponent, wait for them to land. If they try to go for an attack, it's a free punish. If they try to land, we can go for a punish that way, right? Basically, we want to go for guaranteed attacks. So what we would write down is we went for an attack that wasn't guaranteed, and then what we're going to do instead is we're going to wait to see when we have an attack that's 100% guaranteed to hit. Okay, so right here we have stage control. We're jumping around, we do the stare, and we get hit. So once again, we're going to ask ourselves, why do we get hit? Well, it's because we go for the stare, which just isn't guaranteed to hit, right? We're way too close to our opponent, we're right in their hitbox, our opponent jumps, and then the stare just completely misses, and then we're in the range where our opponent could easily just stare us. So what can we do instead here to avoid getting hit, right? Or maybe even to hit our opponent. So what we can do is, because we're sitting here on center stage and our opponent's over here on the edge, we don't have to start jumping, we don't really have to start moving, we don't even have to approach our opponent. We use the fact that we have stage control here in order to basically just have this big wall in front of our opponent, right? If you remember from watching the passive player or the aggressive player video, right, no matter what, if our opponent tries to run in at us, right, like let's say they try to dash sidelight, dash D-light, dash in-light, if we just do in-light, we're going to outbeat them, right, because our move comes out way faster than their dash attack. So if they try to like dash in and sidelight me, and I do in-light on axe, right, I'm going to hit my opponent. So all I have to do is just in-light on axe if I see them running with an attack. And then if they're playing too passive, like let's say this opponent just sits here on the edge, all I have to do is just dash in light, right? And that's a free hit. Maybe I'll like inch a little bit forward so I can close the distance, then I dash in light, but you get the idea, right? Opponent standing still, I can dash in light them for free because they're not moving. If our opponent tries to run in and attack us, then I just do in light because my in light's going to come out first. So basically what that looks like is, imagine that we're standing here on center stage, like imagine we just didn't jump, and we're just kind of waiting, seeing what our opponent does. We see him kind of standing in, we see him inching closer, so that's like, okay, our opponent's probably going to attack us, keep that in mind. And then we're just kind of waiting, we see him inch closer. That's when we see this dash. When we see this dash, then we know they're guaranteed going to run into us, right? So they're going to be forced to land right here, which is where we were standing, right? So there's no way to dash out now, so they have to dash in. And so even if they go for an attack, let's say they do in-light or something, just as long as we do in-light here, like in these kind of frames here, we're going to beat them out. So if we just do in-light here on center stage, we have center stage control, we just get a free hit off our opponent for rushing in like this, right? But because we go into this air, we set ourselves up for a bad position, right? We only really have one move here, and then because we go for dare, our opponent easily just avoids it, right? Because they have time to avoid it, we get hit by a punish. So here, basically what I would kind of write down is, we gave up our good position, right? And then we went for an attack that wasn't guaranteed again. When instead we could have just kind of held down here, kept our center stage control, right? And then if our opponent tried to rush in, right, we just had in-light walls, and if our opponent just kind of sits here on the edge, that's when we can start closing the distance and looking for a quick in-light poke, right? So that's just our mistake there, right? We gave up our position, we go for a move, we get punished for it. Okay, so this is the last one we'll look at real quick. So we punish our opponent with Dare, we try to go for the string on Sarah. Doesn't work, but we avoid it, which is good, and then we decide to follow up against our opponent who did Sarah by inlight punishing them. We rush in, we do Sarah, and we get punished. So why do we get hit here? Well, because the Sarah just isn't guaranteed. Our opponent easily dodges it, and then they punish us for it. So what can we do instead here? Well, instead, since our opponent's off stage, and we have stage control, once again, all we have to do is just edge guard our opponent. We don't have to rush in with an attack or anything. All we have to do is just kind of dash in, close the distance, make our opponent kind of have to run into us, in which case, you know, maybe we get an in light, maybe we get a D light, maybe we get an instig off of them, right? And like in this case, for example, imagine we just kind of dash in on the ground here. We have a free D light if our opponent does anything, right? In which case he would jump here, that D light would hit, right? If we just went for D light. But because we do the Sarah, right, our opponent gets a free punish. But if we just kind of dash in, wait, see what our opponent does, right, we would have got a free D-line instead. Maybe even, you know, if we waited a second, we're just do dashing and we see them dodge up like this, that's a free jump sit. That's a free instinct, right? We have options here if we were just kind of staying on the ground and just kind of approach our opponent and look for these kind of edge guard stuff. Because we're rushing in, we're instead of going for a move, our opponent can easily tell, like, hey, opponent's getting closer, he's rushing me down, he's probably gonna do a move. And because you go for a move, he avoids it and then easily punishes it. You want to put pressure on your opponent and make them do a defensive option and then attack them instead of just doing the attack that they're expecting you to go for. Right? And because of this, you get punished for it. Luckily here, they go for a dumb option. You get an easy string follow-up because of the fast fall, and so they're dead. But, Stu, you're getting hit because you're rushing in on this edge guard that you shouldn't be rushing in on. You're going for attacks that aren't, like, guaranteed to hit, right? Okay, so we know we're going for attacks that aren't guaranteed to hit. And also we know that we're giving up stage control when we really shouldn't be. So how do we keep that information in mind, and how do we actually take it and start improving in our next games? Well, what we start doing is actually start focusing on those mistakes instead of focusing on winning or losing, and trying to actually fix them, right? So then when we go later down the line, like, you know, like a week's time or whatever, when we start playing, we're not doing those same mistakes and we can start improving on something else. So kind of what that looks like is, let's just take a look at this game, right? What's kind of the difference here, right? Look at the stare I'm doing, right? I miss the stare. The reason why is because I want my opponent to start approaching me. Like, the stare isn't punishable, right? Our opponent can't really do much. They try to rush in, they try to go for a punish opportunity against it. So now that I know they're running into me, all I have to do is just inlight them. I turn around inlight. This is something the terrorists didn't do, right? They just kind of jumped in and did dare. If I have stage control here, right, my opponent's rushing into me, this is just a free inlight poke, right? That's something you can start doing. You see your opponent get close to you, start going for these inlights, start taking control over the stage. That's something you guys can start doing, right? Here I go for this dare, they can't really punish me. I see them in the air. I start putting pressure on them in the air. This is kind of similar to like Axe, where you can start maybe looking for D-lights, like right here. You know, if you're dashing in on the ground, you see your opponent like landing down here. You can go for a quick Axe D-light for a free hit. In this case, I go for Lance Nair to catch their falling down, right? I even follow up with like my other Nair here, right? This is unpunishable. They can't do anything. It's just a free tempo move, right? I'm kind of following them around, try to go for like a this dare. It doesn't really work out, but like still, look at this. This is something we were talking about, catching landings, right? Like, I go for the snare to punish them for being in the air. They start fast falling, I catch them with Sidelight Dare, right? That's something you can start doing on Axe too. You can catch them with like an inlight or a D-light or something, right? They're in the air. Look how I don't rush off stage and try to attack them. I wait, I see the waste to dodge, and then I jump nair them for free. I even spot dodge and get another nair off. Try to go for this punish, doesn't really work out. But you get the idea of how much different this gameplay is, where I'm starting to think about, when can I go for these attacks? What's guaranteed? You know, whenever my opponent starts approaching me, when they get too close, can I poke them? In which case I can. Whenever they're off stage, like, I don't rush off stage instantly and try to aggress them. I wait and I edge guard them, and then they waste their dodge. I get 2 free hits off compared to just getting punished for doing jumps there, right? But basically, you do that into your games, right? And, you know, for the terrorists, they will start trying to implement this stuff into their games, see what works, see what doesn't. And they try to get better at their attack accuracy. They want to hit more attacks. They don't want to miss attacks. And then also, they want to start using stage control more. They want to see how they can control the stage, how they keep their opponent from getting near center stage, to keep them on the edge, keep them off stage, stuff like that. How do you edge guard better? And the more you play the game, the more you practice this, the more you start watching replays and finding these mistakes, the better you're going to get. So, yeah, hopefully that helped. If it did, let me know, and I'll see you in the next one.